We begin here in Japan, where the Prime Minister says coronavirus conditions in 6 prefectures have improved enough to lift the state of emergency on Sunday. But the declaration will remain in place for Tokyo and 3 neighboring prefectures.
What is important now is to take thorough measures to prevent the spread of infection and lift the state of emergency across the country on March 7th.
Osaka, Kyoto, Hyogo, Fukuoka, Aichi, and Gifu will all be released early from the state of emergency at the end of this month. But Tokyo, Kanagawa, Saitama, and Chiba will wait until March 7th. News that people may soon face fewer restrictions found a mixed response in Western Japan.
I think I feel good about it. I want to be able to go out and eat with friends after work.
I'm concerned about another surge, what they call a rebound. It would be better to contain the virus once and for all before lifting the state of emergency.
But Osaka's governor says the prefecture will be careful not to move too fast.
It's very important that we don't allow cases to rebound. We'll gradually lift restrictions to strike a balance between social and economic activities and antivirus measures. It will be very difficult, but I think we should try.
A panel of experts helped the central government come to the decision, but its head voiced some concern.
If we don't pay proper attention, society as a whole will loosen up as soon as we lift the restrictions, and the infection will spread just like before. This must be avoided at all costs.
Daily cases have slowed in recent weeks, with Japan confirming 1,056 new infections and 80 deaths on Friday. Tokyo has reported 30 coronavirus deaths, marking the second highest daily tally on record. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has stepped up monitoring for variants of the coronavirus as new strains have been reported in New York City and the state of California. The New York Times reported on Wednesday studies by teams at the California Institute of Technology and Columbia University found a new variant spreading rapidly in New York City. Neither study was peer-reviewed or published in a scientific journal. The preliminary studies suggest the variant has mutations that could weaken the effectiveness of vaccines and could affect how tightly the virus binds to human cells. New York's mayor called for calm at a news conference on Thursday.
Until there's evidence that tells us that a variant is not handled well by vaccine, for example, or a variant has different impacts, we shouldn't assume the worst.
Preliminary studies also claimed a different variant is spreading in California. These studies indicate infections with the variant have markedly increased in the state. The United States has hit another milestone in efforts to stop the spread of the world's largest outbreak and reach the president's goal of rolling out 100 million vaccinations in 100 days.
I'm here to report we're halfway there. 50 million shots in just 37 days since I've become president.
Biden says the news comes weeks ahead of schedule. He says his team has worked with manufacturers to ensure there's an adequate supply to inoculate every adult by the end of July. Biden also says he'll boost education campaigns to convince Americans the vaccines are safe. Now in South Korea, vaccinations have just begun. A local firm is manufacturing the vaccine developed by British pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca and the University of Oxford. The first to be vaccinated will be hospital patients under 65, residents of long-term care homes, and healthcare workers. The South Korean government has contracted enough doses to inoculate 79 million people, which is more than its entire population. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration is set to allow more flexible storage and transportation of one of the major coronavirus vaccines. The version produced by Pfizer and BioNTech has had to be kept in ultra-cold temperature freezers up to now, making distribution difficult. The new standards followed the submission of new data by Pfizer. The vaccine vials can now be stored at temperatures of -25 to -15 degrees Celsius for up to 2 weeks. Those are temperatures of freezers commonly found in pharmacies. The FDA said vials stored at such temperatures can be cooled back down once to the recommended storage conditions of -80 to -60 degrees. The agency has said the vaccine remains stable for up to 6 months if stored in ultra-low freezers. It's good for 5 days when kept at 2 to 8 degrees in refrigerators. The United States says it's carried out airstrikes in Syria against Iranian-backed militia, the first known to be authorized under President Biden. The Pentagon says the strikes were in response to attacks on U.S. and coalition personnel in Iraq. The strikes reportedly destroyed multiple facilities used by 2 militant groups. The Pentagon described the military operation as a proportionate response. The Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said 22 militias were killed. Earlier this month, a U.S. military base in Arbil was hit with rockets. 1 person was killed and multiple others, including an American soldier, were injured.
We're confident in the target that we went after. We know what we hit. And we're confident that that target was being used by the same Shia militia that conducted the strikes.
The move comes at a tense time in relations between Washington and Tehran. The two sides have been at an impasse over Iran's nuclear program. Protests against the recent military coup in Myanmar have taken place across the nation amid reports a Japanese journalist was detained by security authorities, and a warning viewers may find some of the footage disturbing. People continue to call for the release of Aung San Suu Kyi and other officials. In the country's largest city of Yangon, the protest marked the 21st consecutive day of large-scale demonstrations despite growing intimidation from security forces and supporters of Myanmar's military. On Thursday, about 1,000 military supporters took to the streets of Yangon. They carried military flags and shouted the name of military leader Senior General Min Aung Hlaing. There were reports of men armed with knives and clubs assaulting anti-military protesters who were also holding a rally. Security authorities on Friday temporarily detained a Japanese journalist covering anti-coup demonstrations in Yangon. In other news, India and Pakistan have agreed to observe a ceasefire along their disputed border in Jammu and Kashmir. The two sides aim to achieve mutually beneficial and sustainable peace with the agreement, which came into effect Wednesday midnight. A joint statement says their military commanders held discussions over the current mechanism of the hotline. They also reviewed the situation along the line of control. Both sides agreed to consider core issues and concerns which could disrupt the peace. Now, relations are at a low point and came to a standstill in February 2019 when India accused the Pakistan-based group of carrying out a deadly attack on a Kashmir town. The countries have regularly violated a 2003 ceasefire agreement. A U.S. State Department official said Washington welcomes the joint statement.
We encourage continued efforts to improve communication between the two sides and to reduce tensions and violence along the line of control.
Price said the United States will continue to support India and Pakistan dialogue. North Korea has imposed strict measures to prevent the coronavirus from reaching the country, including travel restrictions and the closure of its borders. So when a group of Russian diplomats and their families headed home this week, they had to take an unusual form of transport. The Russian Foreign Ministry on Thursday posted video and photos of the group on social media. They show the embassy's third secretary pushing a rail trolley across a bridge over the river that marks the border between the countries. The Post says the group of 8, including children, traveled for more than 30 hours by train and bus from Pyongyang to reach the border. Then they loaded their luggage on the trolley and pushed it more than a kilometer to cross into Russia. The number of foreign diplomats in North Korea has sharply decreased due to Pyongyang's strict anti-coronavirus measures, as those who leave cannot be replaced. Pop superstar Lady Gaga has offered a reward of $500,000 for the return of her French bulldogs. The pets were stolen in an armed robbery. The suspects shot the singer's dog walker and snatched 2 of the 3 canines on Wednesday evening in Los Angeles. U.S. media report the dog walker's injuries are not life-threatening. LA police reportedly said the robbers fled the scene in a car. The 3rd dog escaped and was safely recovered.
Well, we're looking for that vehicle, and we're looking for witnesses that may have seen or taped the actual crime.
Lady Gaga's representative says she'll pay a $500,000 reward and ask no questions if her pets are returned safely. People who have tips can send the information to an email address. Thefts of the popular breed are on the rise in the United States in recent months. French bulldogs can sell for thousands of dollars. Next in weather, the warm conditions across Europe this week are set to come to an end. Our meteorologist Jonathan O explains why in our World Weather Report.
Hello, it's been a warm week for a good portion of Europe as we're dealing with a high-pressure system that has kept things relatively calm with southerly winds helping to bring temperatures into the teens. That's about to change as we go through the weekend. What is happening is we have a cold front that's going to be pushing through, and as that cold front pushes on through, look at the temperature. It's going to drop up to around 9 for the high on Saturday in Berlin, Vienna at 9, Warsaw at 9 as well. And we're looking at temperatures down to the south, still staying relatively warm, but up to the north. Big changes coming up, so make sure you bundle up because we are looking at temperatures to be really dropping off for the next couple of days. We are also looking at a big cooling trend across North America. We do have a system that's moving through the southeastern United States, and as that takes place, we're looking at rain from the south and across the eastern seaboard for Friday. Cold air coming in behind another system through the central plains and the upper Midwest, so that means we're talking about the chance for some snow to Winnipeg with a high of 12 degrees below zero. Yeah, that's going to be a lot colder than what you've been experiencing for the past several days. Denver down to 1 with some snow. And notice showers continuing into Saturday from New York down toward Atlanta. But the south, you're going to be rebounding when it comes to the temperatures. A little cooler Friday, warmer on Saturday as we see that system moving through the area. Across Japan, we saw clouds across Tokyo with showers for the western areas of Japan. We have the frontal boundary now moving farther to the south and east. High pressure helping to bring in some northerly winds, looking at some snow for places like Sapporo as we go through Saturday. And Tokyo, we're looking at single-digit highs coming up on Saturday with a high of 8, 11 in Osaka and Fukuoka. And we're not talking about really much in terms of the chance for rain as we go through the weekend to the first part of next week. But what we are talking about is a big warming trend, 16 in Tokyo, 18 in Osaka, 21 in Fukuoka, and looking at some showers in Sapporo coming up on Monday. Hope you have a wonderful weekend wherever you are.
A U.S. intelligence report says the Saudi Crown Prince approved a plan to capture or kill the dissident journalist Jamal Khashoggi. He was murdered in the kingdom's consulate in Istanbul in 2018. The prince has always denied having anything to do with the killing. Nigeria's president has warned the kidnappers of more than 300 schoolgirls that his government won't give in to blackmail, describing those behind the latest abductions as bandits. He said that they should interpret the government's restraint as a sign of weakness. There's further evidence that COVID vaccines may help prevent the spread of coronavirus. A study of healthcare workers in England found that a single dose of the Pfizer vaccine dramatically cuts the risk of getting the virus without symptoms.